every thier. You heard my call. You're imbalanced, Whoopi.
How would it Swampy looking for stuff? It calls to you.
Okay, explorers, welcome to episode 15. I am back from my Jedi training on Dagobah. As always, I am joined by the Wookiee handler herself. It's Taylor.
Oh
no.
Brilliant.
No, no.
Strong effort.
That's terrible. That's
Strong
terrible.
effort. And as always, we are joined by the man himself. He requires no introduction. It's the old guy Jedi himself. The Lego master, it's Jimmy.
Hey, everybody. Woo.
Hey,
Nice.
ooh.
And that's why he's the Lego master. Awesome. Right, we'll start with you then, Jimmy. How's your week been?
Sad time in my life.
Go for it.
I had to go back to work, so
Oh, mate.
it's depressing. Being a teacher in the summertime is awesome. Being a teacher in the school year is not quite as awesome. No, it's fun. It's good to get back in routine and see people. And some of it's pretty cool because some of it's my force encounters for this week. But good week. Our exchange student's pretty awesome. She's super sweet. She's really nice. We're getting that whole English thing figured out.
Nice.
So, it's kind of fun having another person here to like share our home with and everything like that. So it's been pretty good. How about you, Taylor?
It's been a good week. I finally am one of the wounded from being stung by a wasp. I escaped it for a very long time, but yesterday at work, a wasp flew into my boot, and I wear steel-toe boots for work. And I tripled knot my laces because my boots have really long laces. So a wasp being stuck in my foot, stinging me, and I'm screaming all these terrible, words. But I did get it out, and he flew away. The lucky little bantha fodder.
Did you say dank ferric at all?
I was screaming, and people were like, "Why is she screaming?" Because I'm not like a girly screamer, but I had my share of girly screaming yesterday.
Hence the bit of Wookiee at the start.
Yeah.
What about you, Jack? What have you been up to? We miss you.
I've been on holiday. I'm back. I'm still on holiday now. I'm in a nice sunny place at the minute. It's torrential rain and wind, but Cornwall in the south west of England. So I've come away with the family for a little bit. Hence a nice decor in the background. But yeah,
beautiful.
Enjoying a nice little vacation. Have some nice time off. I brought a Star Wars book to read as you do when you're on holiday in England.
Of course.
So I finally get through capitalism. Keep putting it off. Things keep happening. I keep getting busy. But yeah, we're all good. We're doing well.
Good.
So in terms of encounters with the Force then, what have we got for this week?
I don't think I had anything this week besides being bombarded by all of our explorers with trailer after trailer after trailer. So
nice.
Yeah. I mean, you guys don't bombard me. Don't take that the wrong way.
I think I'm about the same though with Taylor. I think myself and Jake Crafton are pretty much on the same wavelength. I know that guy's been doing some serious research as well with some of the questions. So we've had some interesting messages going backwards and forwards. So yeah, we've had a little bit of a account of the Force with myself and Jake. What about you, Jimmy? What have you got?
Yeah, I had a pretty good week. We had our back to school night. We're the Derby Panthers, so we had a Panther Palooza. We have our back to school event. Yeah, I know that's what I was joking about too. But it's fun, and it was actually it's a 3-hour event from like 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. They come and meet teachers and things like that. They come, usually freshmen and new students to our district. But you guys have seen photos of my classroom, I think. I've posted them on stuff. And so people come in and are like, oh, like all the Star Wars stuff I have on my shelves. And man, I had so many conversations more about Star Wars than I did about people's kids. Like they came in to talk about their kids, and we would start talking Star Wars. I handed out a ton of our stickers. I didn't
Nice.
look.
Yeah.
I was going to before we got on here, but I'm assuming that our subscriber numbers have jumped up a little bit because I mean
They have.
we had a bunch of people who were super excited, and then here in the States it's like I'm like, oh yeah, we got this lady from Canada and we got this guy from the UK, and they're real excited when they hear that. So I'm sure it kind of works the opposite way for you guys, but people are really excited for that, and so I'm hoping that um, that we got some more followers and that people they start joining our community on Facebook and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a really good week, and I also did my first
Awesome.
Lego build
Nice.
video, so that should be coming out here if I get some time to edit it this evening, which is my plan. So yeah,
Awesome.
I'm excited for
Awesome.
that.
Look forward to that, mate. And like Jimmy said, any of the explorers that are out there, spread the word. Let's get the community even bigger. We're all on the Facebook page now. The chat's getting a lot more active. We're getting a lot more interaction, which is
Yeah.
good. Keep the comments coming. Let us know what you want to hear about, what you want us to talk about. And if you want to get on the show, give us a shout out. Okay, we'll try and get you on the show as and when we can.
Yeah, it's so fun
Absolutely.
chatting with you guys.
Awesome. So to that end then, let's head over to Batu then and see what exciting news is coming out. Okay, so the first bit of news then is not really new news. However, the ongoing strikes are still happening, and there's been rumours circulating around the internet about a possible cancellation of Skeleton Crew. Now, I know it's got a lot of people excited and also upset. Jimmy, what have you heard about this cancellation business?
Well, been watching different videos and doing some research, and people, of course, are using clickbait to get everyone to like jump on it. But it looks like, and like Taylor and I talked about this, and I know I listen to lots of different podcasts, and everyone's talking about this. I listen to other Star Wars podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to other news nerds stuff,
Yeah.
and it's getting to the point now where a show like the Skeleton Crew, it doesn't have any legs to stand on. So people kind of assume, a lot of the theories I've seen and stuff Taylor and I talked about last week is they need Jude Law out in front of the cameras, going on different TV shows all across, Great Britain, different places, coming over to the States and doing all the big shows and wherever else they go, and promoting it. Because I don't think that show is going to have enough, no one's going to know what it is. And I mean, unless they see the Star Wars symbol on there or whatever, the logo, not knowing that's all tied in. You have Jude Law out there talking about it. You're going to see those adorable kids talking. People are going to want to tune in. It's definitely a numbers game. So it looks like Disney's probably just going to push it to the next quarter, which kind of kills it for us because we're going to have Ahsoka for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, a short break, and then probably dive into Skeleton, which is pretty exciting. But who knows? And then, of course, this is my last little bit, is I listened to another podcast. One of our listeners, a good friend of mine from back home, Mike the Mailman Mike, graduated high school together. He's a good listener. Hope he's listening on Tuesdays like he usually does. But he told me, sent me a text, and he was like, hey, listen to WTF podcast, and gave me the episode number. And I listened to it, and it's a podcast hosted by Mark Maron, who's a comedian. And then he had a man named Adam Conover come on the show, and it turns out that Adam is a representative for the union, for the West Side of the West Actors Guild. They have it split up into different regions, it looks like, and he is a representative that goes to the table for this union dispute. And he was pretty positive. He gave a rundown of a few things that have happened in the past, which we know previously, 1960s. And then he also talked about this small thing that they had against all the agents and how they kind of got the agents back, I think, in the 80s, or maybe it was the 90s. I can't remember exactly. Yeah. He sounded very positive that this is going to get resolved. Now, some of these studios are going to hold out, but it did say, like, it only takes one to kind of like crack, and they're going to start getting pressure. Things like the Skeleton Crew getting pushed the way it is, numbers are going to start dropping, profits are going to start dropping, and then the people who really matter to the big businesses, the stockholders, they're going to have to answer to them. So he sounded very positive. I think it was episode 1460 of the WTF podcast. Now, there's pretty strong language in it, as you can imagine, with a title like that. But the guy was very informative, super intelligent, talked about, voting and doing all this other stuff. So I'm hoping he's right. He did say it could take a little bit of time, but he's sounded very positive. And that's good to see someone on that side of the union being very positive. So,
And like you're saying, one thing you've got to think about as well is Disney, and I was talking to Luke Bly from Star Wars podcast as well. You've got to think these people at Disney are smart people. They knew this was coming. They knew these strikes were happening. These aren't something that just come out of the blue, And we had all those layoffs earlier on in the year. But you've got to ask yourself now. You look at the shows that are coming up. Is the Acolyte needed? I'd argue yes for the movies. Is the season 4 Mandalorian needed? Yes, because it's possibly going to be a movie rather than a TV series. Is the Skeleton Crew critical? Who knows?
But that isn't the skeleton. Does the Skeleton Crew have anything to do? Is that the one that has something to do with the High Republic, or would that be the Acolyte?
That's the Acolyte, that one.
Yeah, the Skeleton Crew is another part of the Mandoverse.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, right.
So you've got to sort of think to yourself, is it vital? Are they going to gain more by waiting and keeping the public waiting and the shareholders waiting, like Jimmy's saying? Or is it better to cut their losses sooner rather than later? Who knows?
I mean, it's finished production. Post-production is supposedly over.
Yeah.
Now, it was a mess from everything we've heard. It wasn't a very flawless production. But I would hate for them to sit on it. That would be crazy, I think. But yeah, you could be right. Who knows? I don't understand how some of those tax cuts and things like that work, and how they don't put stuff out. Because there's other movies, like when Fox and Warner Brothers was kind of going, they stopped putting things out so they could save money. They spend a couple $1 million making something, hundreds of millions of dollars making something, and then it's cheaper for them not to put it out just to take the loss. So I hope that doesn't happen. I'll be pretty sad if it does. But it's always a possibility. And Luke Bly, he knows the business side of things pretty well. So
what other pizza news have we got then, Jimmy?
Well, we've got 10,000 of the Ahsoka series Ghost, those big HasLab Ghost chips. I've got 9,000 of them, I think. So I'm pretty poor. But,
brilliant.
I'm still holding out. I cannot pull the trigger on this thing. I really, really want it. I just don't know. I mean, if you haven't seen it, this thing is beautiful. It is massive. It comes with, because now at 10,000, I don't know who that unlocks, but because each time it unlocks a new character, right? Is it everybody?
Ezra, Hera, Kanan, and I want to say Chopper off the top of my head.
And I feel like Zeb's part of that as well.
In fact, yes, it's not Ezra, because Ezra's not in it, or Sabine's not in it, I think. But the rest of the Ghost Crew are,
Yeah, 10,000 of these things have
10,000.
I wish the price came down the more they got ordered, all right, I'll hop on there. But so that's pretty exciting though. 10,000 of those, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So,
when are these supposed to release? When are these supposed to come out?
It'll come out next year because they'll go. I think the final date is sometime mid-September, maybe September 9th, I believe. I don't know why that date popped into my head, but they'll cut it off there, and then they go into production. Yeah. And eventually they start coming out, and you'll see mad post, everyone rubbing it in our faces they got it and we don't. So.
I'm sure we know a few. But it's like, I don't understand why they don't get these out when the series is coming out. This is the same thing that happened with Andor. All the Andor figures and like Lego builds all came out like months after Andor was over and the hype was gone. Like, get these things out during the first few episodes and seasons, and people are going to go nuts for them. You've got to be careful though,
because a lot of the time, especially with Lego, they release stuff and it reveals stuff.
Well, as we saw with Jason.
Yeah.
Or it's already
So-
happening.
How many times that's happened over the last 5 or 6 years? People
Yeah,
get things
yeah.
from Lego, so
We just know where to look now for the answers.
yeah.
What other news have you got for us, Taylor?
Well, Pedro Pascal went to Morocco to visit an art exhibit that was dedicated exclusively to him.
Hey.
He went, yeah, and he, amazing, right? And he went with a friend. I can't remember who it was right now. But anyways, they went all the way there for that specifically. And when he got there, it was closed. So he couldn't even go.
So that's one bounty that's got away from him.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Who's after them now? Can you imagine being that studio and being like, oh my gosh, he came and we were all closed? If he would have let them know, but then there would have been like photographers and media and like everyone's aunts and uncles and everyone they can think of invited to see him there, right?
Just think of the money that guy spent to get there as well, and the
That's
resources.
nothing for him. Daddy Mando, that's not the Last of Us TV show. Oh, he was so good in that.
Oh,
So
absolutely devastated. And that pretty much sums up all the news for this week. There's not a fat lot going on in the world of Star Wars, obviously, because of all the strikes.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week on our news.
Okay, then. So, as always, we had a question sent from one of our explorers, Jake Crafton. Jimmy, what was the question that he sent in to us?
All right. So after last week's discussion, and probably even more curious after the discussion we just had, he says, after listening to the podcast, I had a question. Do you prefer the release of 100 teaser spot trailers, as we've seen with Ahsoka, especially this week,
Yeah.
or the cast doing media tours and only getting 2 or 3 trailers? He says, being the writers and actors strike, so there is no media tour taking place. He goes, I selfishly want both. It is a bit overwhelming with my hype level right now. Jake's about to explode, and I'm hoping he makes it to August 23rd. So, but yeah, he wants to know what we prefer. We
Yeah,
prefer all
so
these little spots because we kind of predicted this about a
Yeah.
week or two ago.
Yeah,
So-
we did.
yeah, I think you guys hit the nail on the head with the predictions. We're doing pretty well with predictions on this show, to be fair. But in terms of the
Alright.
question for Jake, me personally, I prefer all the media tours and just 1 or 2 spotlights on the trailer. Because as we're seeing at the minute, we're getting all these trailers. And again, in my personal opinion, it's a bit too much. We're seeing a lot of what's to come. I think what we've seen so far is pretty much going to be episodes 1 and 2. However, we know with Dave Filoni, there'll always be a few golden nuggets in there that we haven't seen, or there'll be a twist onto what we have seen, which we thought was going to be something else.
Hopefully.
I know Taylor's absolutely chomping at the bit to talk about this trailer that she's seen. So, Taylor, what do you think? Would you prefer 100 million trailers or a media tour?
I actually would prefer the media tour. Not in most of the time that I'm watching something or I'm waiting for a movie to come out or anything like that. A lot of the times I will watch the first trailer because I love to speculate, but I won't watch the second one usually because then it starts getting into giving away too many surprises and stuff, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what we're getting right now. Like there are so many trailers out right now, like the 30-second ones. And like there's already been a couple of little secrets that we could have probably waited for, like that we know are coming now. Like I just watched the Anakin trailer that was released today, which would have been Sunday for you guys listening to us. And it's Anakin, Hayden Christensen talking to Ahsoka, like, I believe in you, Ahsoka, you can do this. And it's like, oh my God, what? But it's like, why am I getting excited over the trailer? I should be watching the TV show, seeing like the series and watching this. So, I mean, it kind of sucks. And I really liked I like all the YouTube interviews and stuff. Like there's new YouTube clips with different people doing interviews. We get a ton of memes off of those. Like I like the tours. Remember when Obi-Wan was coming out? We got a ton of Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor interviews and just so much media, so much news. There was always something happening. I miss that. And I don't know. Ahsoka is probably like the most popular series that's coming out this year because almost everybody in Star Wars knows Ahsoka.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
you don't need to hype her up. We want to see Sabine. We want to see Hera. We want to see Chopper killing people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like they're pushing all these clips and these trailers way too much, and they need to pull back a little bit, or else they're going to lose people.
Yeah. I know
Mhm.
Rosario Dawson did like a quick 30-second recap of Ahsoka.
Who is Ahsoka? That was good
But I
too.
think that's the closest that we're going to get, especially with the strikes and that. What about you,
Yeah.
That
Jimmy?
had
What do you prefer?
Yeah, that I was gonna say that 30 seconds of Ahsoka one that had to have been pre-recorded. Like they had that planned to be
100%.
released because there's no way she could have done that now. So you know that was planned. I think these ones where you're hearing voices, I'm assuming that the one that came out on Sunday, the day we record with Anakin's voice, that's got to be a flashback or something, right? They re-recorded
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen talking to Ahsoka, which I thought when I heard it, it was going to be, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? Who's the guy who does Anakin's voice for the Clone Wars? I am kicking myself. It's not Taylor Gray, that's Ezra.
Oh
Matt
no.
Latner. Matt
Yes.
Lancer.
Yes.
Matt Lancer.
Latner. Okay, so I thought it was going to be him. And I was like, that's not him. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's Hayden Christensen.
It's
So
totally
I was like,
Hayden.
whoa. So I'm kind of wondering about that one. And then you also had the Masters and Apprentice one.
Yeah.
That one was pretty cool because I was neat seeing all the different groups throughout, and that one didn't really spoil anything.
Yes, I liked that one.
But I just hope they don't do what they did with The Rise of Skywalker, where before you went into that movie, you had already seen the first like 10, 15 minutes of the movie because they had released it for some reason.
Yeah.
So an hour and I know like Jack, what you said is like, everything that we've seen so far is coming from the first two episodes. Luckily, that's like an hour and a half. So hopefully it's just little snippets. But yeah, I think I'd rather, like Taylor and you guys said, I would rather be getting getting that 30-second clip or, some of those little things there that don't really tell us the story. But I do miss seeing all the actors out and talking about it, seeing their excitement levels.
I think we're coming to a bit of a crunch with Star Wars, but I'll talk about more on what I'm thinking in another episode with predictions and stuff like that. So with the trailers that we've seen this week, obviously we've got the big one that Taylor was talking about, where we've got the voice of Hayden Christensen talking. We also saw another trailer where we saw Ahsoka training Sabine. All right. What did we think of that bad boy? Go on, Taylor.
Well, if you notice, her hair is short, and she only cuts her hair, as we've seen in so many different clips, when they're ready to go back out on their mission. So what is this like? Okay, let's start training again, or is it let's start training because you never let me begin last time? I don't know. I like how Ahsoka still has her kind of attitude, like, let's go again. But you can feel Anakin in there too. Like, I don't know.
That's a quick reminisce from the Clone Wars where she was getting hit by the stun guns and the clone troopers were stunning her and she was coming around
Tales of the Jedi stuff.
Yeah. So nice little hit. What about you, Jimmy? What do you think?
I loved it. I mean, I like this whole. I mean, I really feel like Dave Filoni's behind this because he's such a master of like deception for us. And is she a Jedi? Is she not a Jedi? And then everyone's having a certain conversation. It's starting to go this way, and then he drops that footage and he turns it around and makes it go the other way. So without really telling us anything, he's really made everyone kind of like, well, she is a Jedi. She's not a Jedi.
It's getting us talking.
It's getting people talking, which is exactly what they want, what they have to have right now. So yeah, I think that was pretty cool. I don't want to see too much though. Like I don't want to see the reveal of something major, but we're only a week and a half away, so I think we'll be all right. We'll probably get 15 more little clips this week, and
yeah, keep watching.
So,
I think
just start putting it all together.
Yeah. I think at the minute, I think they're really pushing the female heroes of the franchise because we haven't had enough female heroes since Princess Leia. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
in a good, positive way. They're not shoving it down our throats like Avengers did in Endgame or whatever. Not Endgame.
Yeah,
is that the last one? Endgame. Yeah, that whole scene in Endgame.
Yeah, in game.
It's just like in Mando season 2 when all those women are going down that corridor. You got Bo-Katan, you had Fennec Shand and Cara Dune, and they're just wasting fools. And you never even thought
Yeah.
about these good, strong characters that
Yeah.
everyone likes. And yeah, I think this is. Hopefully, we don't get any of that nonsense about people not liking women in Star Wars because these are really strong characters.
I think they're finding the balance, like you're saying, Jimmy. They're doing it just right because if you ask people to name you a few Jedi Masters, etc., they wouldn't be able to name you any, or if a few female Jedi's, and that's why I think as well Sabine is going to become a Jedi. I genuinely do.
For that reason.
Yeah, because you look at the Jedi, look at the Jedi's that we've got now that are female, that are the Masters. Obviously, you got Rey. That's the most latest one. You could argue we've got Yaddle to an extent.
Yeah, I was gonna say Yaddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've probably got forgive the name now, Alayla. Is it Alayla from
Ayla
Clone Wars?
Secura,
Yeah.
Who else have we got? Shakti.
Dipa B'Laba, Shakti.
Yeah, Dipa, yeah.
What is
Bo-Katan, not really a Jedi.
No,
what
but
is
she was a strong
Barris
character.
Offee's master?
Who's that? Sorry.
Barris Offee's master.
Luminari.
Luminar Unduli, yes.
Yeah. So I think they're slowly churning them in and putting them in.
The general population doesn't know any of those.
Yeah, those aren't popular. No, you think
Rey,
of Mace
probably.
Windu, Yoda, yeah, exactly.
I think the only real popular or known person to an extent outside of the movies will probably be Bastalia Shan from the old Republic stuff because of the video games.
I've seen a couple good cosplays of that.
So yeah, it's good that they're pushing this stuff out, especially as well with the High Republic, because the vast amount of different types of Jedis as well. So yeah, I think they're finding that fine balance, and I think that's why we're going to see Sabine become a Jedi.
Live action.
People's brains are
That's a good point. That's a good point.
One
but
way
thanks,
or the
Jake,
other.
for your question, by the way.
Yeah.
We got
question.
Brilliant question.
Rebel Rundown.
You rebel scum.
Rebel Rundown.
I rebel.
Well, this week on our Rebel Rundown, we have, let's start with our old friend Chopper, the death droid.
Nice.
Hasn't Chopper been like the one character that's killed the most people, or was that R2-D2? I think it's up there with both of them. But they, like, both of those two droids have killed more people in the Star Wars galaxy than anyone else. Even more than Vader, I think. Like, counting all of the, like, just single people that you don't know in the backgrounds and stuff. Like, ships and stuff.
I feel like Chopper is a little bit of a sociopath. Though. Like, R2 does it to save people. I think Chopper does it because he likes it.
Yeah. You can tell, like, what he says sometimes, I swear.
There's such a big difference between the droids. Between, like, they're both astromechs. We have no clue what they're saying. But personality-wise, and this is what is so clever with the droids and the prop designers and that, is there's such a different personality. They're not just droids. Like, R2's a bit more reserved. I want to say more royal. Whereas Chopper is a rebel droid. Everything that he does, he rebels in literally everything.
Yeah, right. He annoys his friends even. Like, there's that scene where he's, like, playing with Ezra, and Ezra's trying to use the Force to levitate something, and he, like, lifts it, and then he, like, throws the food right in Ezra's face and just takes off, and then they're just, like, fighting each other.
He's such a rebellious droid. I can't wait to see him in live action.
That's what I was just about to say.
Go on, Jimmy.
I want to see... You know, he has some crazy things, and, you know, he had his own little stories in the Rebels TV show, but I want to see how far they'll push this guy in live action, you know, because seeing it in animation is bad, but seeing a droid push people off a cliff or do whatever the kind of stuff he does, it'd be great for comic relief.
Fire.
But, like, so yeah, I'm excited for that. You know, it's kind of cool. People that don't know, Dave Filoni is his voice. He does the voice for Chopper, so that's kind of fun. But so it should be interesting. And then just if there's any backstory, they talk, you know, because people won't know that Hera is actually the one that created him. She kind of built him from scrap or whatever out of that. Was that B wing that crashed, or no, the Y wing that crashed at her
Y-wing,
house or something like that.
yeah.
So
Heard it's at her
pretty cool.
house. Yeah.
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 How
We had
vulgar can they
lots.
make live action Chopper?
Yeah, I had we went to our friends on that Rebels Facebook page on on Facebook obviously, but we had a bunch of people say we had Ernst, and I'm not even going to try the last name. I apologize, Ernst, if you're listening. He goes Chopper, aka the rolling war crime. So that was a pretty good one.
Nice.
And so, what else do we have here? We have a bunch of people. Just for clarification, we do know that the time period, and we know that Kanan said we had kind of asked the question, but at least Wolf said so. Before I was introduced to Rebels, R2D2 was my favorite, but Chopper really stole my heart. So she saying it was the fart noises and the murder, I guess. So that's
Yeah.
a little bit dark, Mandy. And then Chopper C1 1OP. I loved how Hera would use her mom voice whenever she was pissed at him or Zeb. And then finally Stephanie Grime said murder droid and space mom. So we can kind of take that space mom and talk about our next character if we want to.
Yeah, we'll push on now with Hera. Obviously, the live action Hera being played by I was going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi's wife then. Ewan McGregor's real time wife. So keeping it in the family. Personal thoughts on Hera. Again, she's another rebel. One of the best pilots in the galaxy. I hear that an awful lot.
Yes.
What does she bring to the party? In my own personal opinion, I think she's the cool, level-headed person. She's got a hell of a lot of experience. She's been through war after war since the Clone Wars with her father. Also, she's come up against Thrawn numerous times before on Rebels, so she sort of knows to an extent what she's getting into, and she's gone through the ranks. She's gone from not a nobody, but from a pilot to a general, and she's lost a lot on the way. Obviously with Kanan, which we'll go into later on, but also gained quite a little bit, and her skills with ships is definitely evident to see as well. What do you think about Hera, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think you're right about the pilot thing. So if you watch Rebels, she's the one who brings the B-Wings in, right? She's like the first one to test a B-Wing. And I never really cared for those ships very much until that episode, and watching Hera fly it. They did a pretty amazing job with that episode. But yeah, you always hear greatest pilot, and she always is. She does some crazy stuff with the Ghost. Definitely the space mom, like people were saying on the Facebook page. I think she's a strong character. I mean, she's a general. She goes, like you said, Cham Sandola, her dad, who's Ryloth, he, fighting the separatists and everything for forever. Mm-hmm. So she's part of that. I mean, she's groomed for this position. And then in the book, was it A New Dawn? She's going out and on her own, she's looking for ways and for people. Like she's recruiting her own band of rebels in that book. And it just shows like where her heart is and where her brain's at and how she operates. And, Jack is a military guy, myself a former military guy. Like I would follow General Syndulla anywhere she told me to go. Yeah. So,
very methodical in the plans.
Yeah, so I think she's a great character. I mean, really exciting. Just like we just talked about, a strong female character. Just a strong character. I'd take the female part out of it, male, female. She's just an awesome character. I hope we get more of her because I did feel like in Rebels, she was always kind of in the back of things. There was a couple episodes where she's kind of pushed to the forefront, but a lot of it's about Ezra and Sabine and things like that. Yeah. I really hope she gets, they show her being the mom that we think she's going to be, and maybe balancing that out.
She's going to be a difficult character, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
To do in live action, so it'll be interesting to see where they take her. What about you, Taylor? What do you think?
I've always loved Hera. You're right. She is super level-headed. She can stay cool in the heat of the moment. She didn't lose her mind when whatever happened with Kanan. I don't know. I guess everybody's already watched it, but like when Kanan passed away, she like it was like he did it for us, and she didn't like lose her mind or anything, like which most couples I guess would. She's an amazing pilot. She can fly anything that you give her. She comes up with plans super easily. She can keep secrets to herself when she knows she needs to from the team. Like, not that keeping secrets is a good thing, but she has the maturity level to know these people need to know this and these people don't. I mean, she missed the little key little signs that Ezra was going to take off at the end of Rebels, but she may have had some other things on her brain, baby brain. Am I right? But yeah, and let's be honest. For an animation character, she's pretty good looking. Right, but yeah, you're right. Space Mom, I love her. I'm super excited to see her in live action, and I know some people are, comments like, "Oh, it doesn't look good in live action so far." We don't know because the final editing isn't done, and let's just give her a chance because this is a really good actress. I've seen her in a few other things, like oh, what was that, like Alien movie or whatever? She's really good in that. Like I won't even get into it, but I'm excited. It's going to be good.
Yeah. And that'll lead us nicely then into our last one, Kanan. Now, before we go ahead, I've seen it all weekend. We know Kanan has gone and died. Everyone keeps saying this. We've seen it. We know. However, just because people have died in Star Wars doesn't mean they don't come back. We've seen it with Yoda. We've seen it with Luke. We've seen it with... I could keep going on and on and on. Kanan is going to, at some point, make an appearance, whether it's a flashback, a voice, something, I think, in Ahsoka. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Well, we know this series is jumping back and forth in time because look at Sabine's hair and I don't know. We know it's jumping back and forth in time. So to say that Kanan won't be in it because he's already dead is kind of silly to think about because we don't know. And there's force ghosts and there's like hollow vids and everything.
Exactly. And let's not forget that he was actually in Rise of Skywalker as well. He was one of the voices, I believe, for Rey. But
so he's strong enough to come back.
He's there. So sticking with the Rebel rundown stuff, Kanan then, obviously a massive influential character. Massive. So he cannot just be ignored just because he's dead. He's had a massive impact on every single character, probably bar Ahsoka, off the top of my head, in the Ahsoka series. Obviously they do cross paths in Rebels a little bit. But every other character in Rebels has had some form of impact or influence by Kanan. As we saw in Rebels, he becomes quite a wise Master Jedi. Because I still think he's finding himself in Rebels, isn't he? First couple of seasons, he's just finding his feet. He's not sure he can take on a Padawan. I think
he wasn't
Ezra. There wasn't even a master, was he? Until a couple of seasons
he was an ungraduated Padawan, anyways.
He sort of just winged it until Master Yoda squared him away and helped him out.
Yeah,
but super talented. Again, got blinded by Maul and was still able to defend himself when others blind.
It's terrible.
What do you think about Kanan, Jimmy?
Oh, I love the character. There's, like I said, that book New Dawn, so you kind of start there, and he's lost, he's angry. He's a pretty funny character in that book because he's just looking for work and honestly, he's just looking for ladies. He's stunned by Hera the first time he meets her, and he's just kind of following her around, trying to get on her team. The whole book is like him trying to him hitting on Hera constantly, and then of course he's only a Padawan. When he loses his master and then he puts the Force away, and I'm not sure how much he uses it in between. He goes like the very first 2 episodes of Rebels, he's like, I'm letting the whole galaxy know what's up. And I think we talked about it on one of our very first episodes because I was super pumped about it. But he comes out and he breaks out his lightsaber, and so he goes from not having all the training he should have had to basically having a kid that he's got to train. So I think he did a pretty good job. And again, like Jack, like you said, a lot of things along the way. He has some run-ins with even the Inquisitor, the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inquisitor, the ghost of the Inquisitor talks to him, explains some things to him. Yoda, Force Ghost talks to him and trains him a little bit. The Bendu helps him, and then he helps and trains everybody. He
Yeah.
overcomes his dislike of clones eventually. So because of Rex, yeah, solid
Eventually.
character.
Yeah.
I wonder because you remember when we first started this podcast. I mean, it's not that long ago, like 3.5 months now, and it was right around the time that the voice actor. Oh my gosh!
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah, thank you. I can't. Man,
This is why we do it in
crazy
threes.
stuff.
3 brains are better than 1.
Yeah. Going on that rant about he's done with Kanan and blah blah blah. I wouldn't be surprised to see Freddie Prinze Jr. or at least him voicing something. So I hope
Maybe
we
they
do.
told him to say that.
We
Yeah,
have to
is it
get a
another
mention.
is it another double bluff?
Yeah, we
He
have
is
to
an
get
actor.
we have to get a mention, and that's what
Yeah.
most
There's
people said. They didn't really, they just they trust Dave's decisions, but they of course they would love a mention or a Force Ghost. But a lot of people said they're just going to wait and see because that's a big one.
Yeah, there's no way they're not going to mention Kanan. Like in the past, like, oh, Kanan wouldn't have liked this, or your dad would have this, anything. They're going to mention him. They can't just not mention him even once. He was such a huge part of the crew.
They have voice clips and stuff like that. I'm sure there'll be a scene at some point where Jason sat there listening to a voice clip from his dad or something.
That would be heart-wrenching.
Who knows? Who reckons Ezra might even take on Jason's training on? Can you imagine that?
Oh my god. We're going to start recording our Ahsoka series and all be just in tears.
Yeah, mark it today. Ezra will be training him. Anyway, good point. I want
Oh my
to
god,
quickly
such a
highlight
good
before we go on
shout.
to Taylor's views on Kanan. So what you said there, Jimmy, just sort of got a bell ringing in my head with Kanan. I think his feelings towards the clones as well is bitterness. Like you said there, he didn't get any training, and I think he feels resentment and bitterness towards the clones for that, which is understandable. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. What do you reckon about Kanan then, Taylor?
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Cal Kestis situation. So they're all buddy-buddy. They're like elbowing each other like you're going to do good in this test. So, I'm going to get you next time in training. And then it's kind of the same thing in Bad Batch when we see at the beginning of Bad Batch when Caleb is with all their group of clones. That's with Dippa. What was her last name? Dippa Balaba.
I think Balapa.
Yeah. So, so yeah. So I get it. They were his friends. They were his teammates. They were on the same mission at the time. And as we know, the Emperor had all of the Jedi spread out across the galaxy so that they were easy targets, set with like 15 clones just waiting to just blow their brains out when they're not looking. So I understand Kanan's hate of the clones because you're right. Yeah. They did make it so that he couldn't finish his training. He never got to do the Padawan trials, right? And that affected him a lot because he had grown up in the temple as an initiate, as a Padawan his whole entire life, his belief, his religion. And all of a sudden these people who have been his friends, all of a sudden they just, something in their head just clicks and they hate and they're just killing them. Like, how heartless can you be? And I know it's hard to understand that it was the chips in their heads that made them do it. Yeah. But in that episode of Rebels, when they're all kind of talking about it, like it wasn't our fault, like we took the chips out ourselves, like, and then he kind of understands, right? Yeah. Like, and then I always think of that meme where he's like, oh, you want to grab a burger? And then he's like, yeah, I could order 66 of them. And he's like looking at Rex. Like, so I like Kanan. I think, he did get a little bit emotional after he went blind, but really, who wouldn't?
But say understandably, yeah.
However, I'm still upset that in the Battle Scars book from Jedi, Cal Kestis gets hit in the face with a lightsaber, and he's like, "Fine." It's like, no. Kanan went completely blind. There's no way you can get away with a single scar, but still be fine. That's a whole new book. That's a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, big time. Awesome. So that just about completes our Rebel rundown for this week.
Next week, we're going to have the big two. We've got Ahsoka and we've got Thrawn. So, people, please, 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 please send in your thoughts and your predictions and all that good stuff. So,
Tune in, invite your friends. It's going to be a party.
Yeah. Like Jimmy says, any comments, feedback, any ideas, your thoughts on Ahsoka and Thrawn, leave them on the Facebook page at Explore the Force, or send a voice note or an email to exploretheforce@gmail.com, and find us on Instagram, TikTok, and also Twitter at Explore the Force. Okay then, so last week, as some of the listeners pointed out, we didn't do our Jedi archives because obviously my fellow co-hosts were waiting for me to get back. And I know they've both been reading stuff. So Taylor, without any delay then, what have you been reading?
I hate to say it, but it looks like the system you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
Reading.
Okay, so mine was a bit of a super random one. As you guys know, I've finally been digging into Light of the Jedi. And I'm mostly through that now, and I'm really liking it. It's super busy, and I have to keep notes on every single character, and I have like pictures on my phone. But this week for my archive, I decided to pick up this comic, which I saw, and it is called Star Wars: The High Republic Galactic Bake Off Spectacular.
They come up with some stuff, don't they?
Oh my goodness. I had to grab it because it looked so ridiculous. And then I was like, wait, are they actually like baking? Like, what's going on here? And it is. So I'll just go over it really quick. It's super short. It's about a Jedi Master, Torben Bach, who also goes by Buckets of Blood.
Yes.
Random in a cooking book.
Yeah.
And Jedi, yeah, and Jedi Cantum Psi, and both of these Jedi are present in the Great Disaster, which is happening in the Light of the Jedi, when the stuff's flying out of hyperspace and all around Hetzal is, getting these emergencies. So these two Jedi are on the Starlight Beacon. So this is, I'm not sure how far into phase 1 this comic happens, but they decide that they're going to have a cooking class. So they have the younger Jedi initiates and Padawans, and whoever just happens to be walking in the hallway smelling it, come in to help bake these. They're baking Master Jedi's special baked sweet story custard cakes. And the biggest ingredient in these custard cakes is that you have to tell a story.
Okay.
About like courage and stuff. So as they're baking, like literally cracking eggs, and like there's this one alien that has like 4 arms and he's like cracking eggs into it, and they're telling the story about how they rescued these elder Jedi from, it's called the Voyager Dawn. And it is a ship where elder Jedi go to retire, pretty much. So there's hundreds of old retired Jedi flying through the Hetzal system, and they are getting bombarded with all of the bits from the Legacy run, and so they're baking these like custard cakes, and they're telling everybody about how they rescued these old Jedi, and at the end. And at the end, which was a huge surprise to me, they have the ingredients on how to make Yoda's custard cakes. Like, I could make them myself. I just have to, for you, those of you looking at the
ingredients you could use in real life.
Yeah, it's like eggs. For anybody who's on the YouTube
Taylor,
channel.
you need to send me that. You need to take a screenshot and send that to me. I'm going to have Molly make those.
That is awesome.
Make sure you tell a really sick story while you're telling it, because that's the key ingredient.
Taylor, you need to bake those. Jimmy needs to bake those, and then we'll have a taste off.
Well, let me just look and see what's actually in the ingredients. So, there's caramel that you drizzle on top of them after. There's lemon juice in them, sugar, there's 4 eggs. 4 egg yolks. Oh, and then the whites go in after. This could be complicated, but anyways, they're more like tarts, I think is what it is. And step number 8 on the cooking is May the Force be with you.
Nice. Classic. Classic.
This actually may be one of the best archives I've ever done.
Nice. Awesome.
So I was super proud of myself with that one.
Yeah.
So what were you guys into this week?
All right. Well, mine's not nearly as exciting. I did the Hidden Empire. We'll put post up there, but this is my girl Kira. If you guys don't know, I love Solo, everything that's part of it.
Yeah.
I believe this takes place after the Crimson Reign stuff, and there's a lot of characters that show up. I'm just going to say this right now, and I'm going to give the klaxon warning, but full spoiler alert, because there's not enough in this comic without kind of going into it.
Sorry about mine, guys.
If you plan on reading the Hidden Empire, don't listen to this next couple minutes. But anyway, so this is Kira's super mad at. She wants to get rid of. She doesn't want to defeat the Empire. She knows she can't do that. She wants to defeat the Sith. She wants to take Vader, and she wants to take Palpatine out. Right. So she has this elaborate plan, and she has all these different characters that have been in other books. The Archive is in this. They bring in this another sect of like Jedi religion called the Ascendants, I believe. All these different groups. This group this lady's leading called the Orphans. I mean, it's well thought out. It's everything that she's been doing under the radar, and it starts out with the archivist hologram talking to these two robed figures. You can't see who they are, so you're kind of like, all right, who's that? Like right off the bat, you want to know who these people are, and the story unfolds. And the archivist has this thing called the Fermata cage, and basically they want to unleash it. And supposedly there's a Sith Lord trapped inside of this thing. So her idea and her thought is to release this thing. She has this full-on conversation with the Emperor. She tells him her plan, and he's like, "Dang, this lady is like." He actually has like, he shows some respect to her. It's pretty funny because he's like, "Man, she is a cunning adversary." And the story goes on. Lots of things happen. Vader's weighing waste to people, even the Emperor. So they track them down to the Amaxine station. So if you've read is it Into the Darkness? Is that the one with the Drengir? You haven't read them.
Yeah,
no, no, I read
phase
that
one.
So
In phase one, that second book, I believe, the Amaxine station. So they go to the Amaxine station, and Palpatine and Vader are kind of concerned because if she opens this up and there's a Sith Lord or two in there, they know that that's like their biggest rival. Like that will be a big problem for them. So they show up personally, and they go in there. They just steamroll through the Crimson Dawn guards and all this stuff. And come to find out, it's a trap. They open this up, and she actually captures Vader, and she captures Palpatine inside this cage. And that's it, right? Like,
wow.
The whole story of Star Wars has changed forever. But then the Knights of Ren and all their greatness and clumsiness and stupidity, they come in and they're upset and they're worried that if Palpatine gets away, that he'll know that they didn't help him. So he shoots them, shoots through the Amaxine station, frees them. They get out, and this whole thing goes on. And of course, he lights up the Knights of Ren with his electricity, Force lightning, and they go and then finally the two robed characters take off because they've done finishing the story, and the archivist says that Kira's failed, and the one hooded figure says, "Oh, I don't think she did," and the other one's like, "What do you mean?" So then they both reveal their hood, take their hoods off, and it's Luke and Leia post Return of the Jedi.
Nice.
When he would have been training her. So it's kind of the first times I've seen, other than this flashbacks and Tross, but I was kind of like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I expected it to be two Jedi. I had no idea who. And Luke comes out and he has this, she may not have won the way she wanted to, but she stalled the Emperor and Vader long enough that we were able to, because apparently this whole battle with her goes on for a long time because she's been like hitting them from all different directions. Basically gave the Alliance a chance to reform after Empire and come in and get everybody. So it was pretty cool.
Interesting.
And then it does release something, because remember last week I talked about Dark Droids, and the reason I read this was she releases something, and at the very end it has this quote. These weird little things come out of the cage. It looks like an hourglass, and it's all filled with like this purplish pink stuff. And that, whatever that is, supposedly is going to affect these droids and Dark Droids, which only the first episodes or articles out. I always call them episodes. The first magazine is out, first comic. So I won't usually get into it until like a short run like that's done. But yeah, it was kind of fun. It was a good read. It's always good to see Kira. And I thought, oh man, she's done. She's gone. And then they show her later on. So yeah, they just like leave it open. She's have all these great adventures through Crimson Reign, the Bounty Hunter Wars, all this stuff. But she's still out there.
She's still alive.
Please bring Amelia Clark back.
Oh,
please,
so good.
So, yeah, that's what I've got for this month. Pretty good read. It's only five comics. So if you're looking to get into the comics, you haven't read them before, and you like Solo, you like Kira, another strong female character, go get these comics, knock them out. So,
or you can find them on Marvel's comics as well, and they're a lot cheaper. And then you have them on your phone, so it's just then you have them everywhere.
I am old. I must be old because I like hard copy.
Yeah, I prefer hard copy.
I've got enough hard copies that
I do read. I do read all mine online, but I like to have in the hard copies in my boxes.
Yeah.
I like the collecting aspect of it. Like I like collecting my books too. It's just I like having them in my hands and yeah.
All right.
Awesome. So that wraps up our Jedi archives then for this week. Happy days then. So that wraps up episode 15 for this week. Again, join us next week for episode 16, where we're going to our predictions and talk about Thrawn and Ahsoka. And as always then, from Taylor.
For light and life.
And for myself, good soldiers follow orders.
And for all of us, we have spoken.
See you next week.
Thanks, guys. We're looking forward to your predictions.
Absolutely. Send them in, please.
Get them in.